In 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte set sail for Egypt. But why? Was it about empire, glory, or something more secretive? Napoleon's Egyptian campaign is one of the most bizarre military expeditions in history. A French general, barely 29 years old, takes 40,000 troops across the Mediterranean to conquer a desert. On paper, it sounds like madness. But underneath the chaos was a cold, strategic gamble, and maybe a bit of propaganda too. This is the secret story of why Napoleon invaded Egypt. Let's rewind to the 1790s. Revolutionary France was at war with half of Europe. Britain, France's eternal rival, dominated the seas and had one key weakness: India. The British Empire depended on India's wealth, and to get there, they needed safe access through the Red Sea and Persian Gulf. Napoleon had an idea. What if France could strike at Britain by taking Egypt? In theory, it was brilliant. If the French controlled Egypt, they could cut off Britain's overland trade routes to India. They could threaten the British Empire from its underbelly. It wasn't just about conquest, it was about breaking the British stranglehold on global trade. Napoleon pitched it to the French Directory as a bold way to hurt Britain without directly attacking its navy. They agreed. It would also get Napoleon out of France, where his popularity was becoming a political threat. But Napoleon wasn't just bringing soldiers, he was bringing scientists, engineers, artists, and historians. Over 160 of them. This was the Institut d'Egypte, a traveling think tank. Napoleon claimed he wanted to liberate Egypt from Mamluk rule and bring the light of the Enlightenment to the East. He ordered his men to respect Islam, preserve ancient monuments, and study the ruins. French scholars published studies on Egyptian culture, flora, fauna, and even translated the Quran. To many back in France, this campaign was more than war, it was the future. A marriage of reason and empire. Science and conquest. But on the ground, things were far messier. Napoleon's initial success was swift. He won the Battle of the Pyramids against the Mamluks, using modern tactics to crush traditional cavalry. But just days later, the real disaster struck. At the Battle of the Nile, British Admiral Horatio Nelson annihilated the French fleet anchored at Abuko Bay. The French army was now stranded in Egypt, no reinforcements, no retreat. Napoleon's grand strategy collapsed overnight. He tried to push east, dreaming of reaching India, but was stopped in Syria by disease, resistance, and the brutal siege of Acre, where his army faltered. The Egyptian population, meanwhile, resisted occupation fiercely. Uprisings in Cairo turned violent. The Enlightenment image began to rot from within. But Napoleon was a master of narrative. Even in failure, he spun the campaign as a glorious adventure. Back in France, his bulletins painted Egypt as a land of victory and progress. He portrayed himself as a new Alexander, destined to reshape East and West. And to be fair, the campaign did leave a strange legacy. French scholars uncovered the Rosetta Stone, key to unlocking ancient Egyptian writing. The expedition laid the foundation for modern Egyptology. And Napoleon's mystique only grew, despite abandoning his army in 1799 and sneaking back to France alone. Just months later, he seized power in a coup and became first consul. Egypt may have been a strategic failure, but politically, it was a stepping stone to empire. So why did Napoleon invade Egypt? To strike at Britain. To chase personal glory. To export Enlightenment ideas. And maybe, to write his own myth. It was a campaign where science marched with soldiers, where dreams of empire clashed with desert reality. A failed conquest, but a successful legend. And in Napoleon's world, legends were sometimes more powerful than victories. If you enjoyed this dive into Napoleon's Egyptian gamble, hit like, subscribe, and let us know, what should we cover next?